Almost as if an answer to the charge that there is a lack of grace and beauty in the work of the New York hard swingers comes this album, in which Rollins displays humor, gentleness, a delicate feeling for beauty in line, and a puckish sense of humor, and all done with the uncompromising swinging that has characterized them all along. This was a review later written by Ralph J. Gleason in June for the Downbeat magazine. I thought that would be a great way to start this episode. Cue the music. Hey, welcome to the channel, everybody.
Hey, welcome back.
Look who's in the red.
We got him back.
Thank you.
Not just the bobblehead in the episode. We've got the live version.
There you go. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Good. This week, Dad, we get to talk about Sonny Rollins' Saxophone Colossus. I don't have the information in front of me, Matt, so I'll let you tell me when it was out. 1957?
1956, it was recorded June 22nd, 1956. It's got Sonny Rollins on tenor, Tommy Flanagan on the piano, Doug Watkins on the bass, and of course the great Max Roach on the drums.
Banging. What a great week.
Yep.
Dad, I'm sure here in a little bit we'll get into your week in music and Matt and I's. I almost forget where we're supposed to start. Last week was a little bit of a skip without you.
I bet. What are you going to do without me? Come on, you can't do without me.
We can't.
We know this.
We can't. But this album has been, I'm certainly glad you're here for this one. I wish you would have been here for last one because I love Thelonious Monk, and I also love the fact that you keep us in line each week. So bring that bass line. Bring that drum beat, baby. Bring that drum beat. Keep us in time. I think that means that it's time for some audio clips, right? Is that what we're ready for?
Yes.
Do you guys have stuff picked out?
I do. Can I go first? I mean,
Sure.
it's okay. It's the most recognizable song on the album for me. Song number 1 called St. Thomas. Start me right at about 19 seconds. That's where the head really comes in. You'll know the tune.
I think I'm a little early on this. All right.
Yeah. You're just gonna
I'll just
play
keep it
the whole
rolling,
tune.
baby.
All right, so here's why I picked it. I love the melody. I love the tune. The way Sonny plays it, it reminds me of that smooth, almost West Coast style, laid back. You can hear the island vibes. I think the only thing that's missing is a steel drum. If it had a steel drum, you'd be sitting right at St. Thomas, right with Sonny while he's playing the tune.
Uh-huh.
I just love it. I really do. I love it. Love it. Love it.
It sounded like they were having so much fun playing it. You know, just kind of flowed.
You find yourself smiling. So I agree, Dad. It's so much fun. I mean, how can you argue with your feet in the sand and a cold beverage in your feet in the sand,
hand.
cold beverage in your hand? Yeah. And you just want to smile wherever you might be. So I love that clip. And Matt, I'm thankful that you chose that section from the head into his solo because he just has so much fun right then and there.
And I probably have played it in the past, but It doesn't sound complicated. He doesn't make it sound complicated. He doesn't try and play 1,000 notes in his solo. He's just relaxed and he's kind of just doing his thing.
Yep.
So, yep.
Killer good. So, Dad, you wanted to hear a particular audio clip to kick this off as well.
Yes, Blues 7 at starting at 1 minute 30 seconds. We'll see how that rolls tonight.
Here we go. Got to do it. I'm going to shut it off right there. I've listened to the whole song, baby.
I know, right? And I can just see and feel him on stage and just flowing with it, and keys, moving the fingers all over the what do you call them? The keys.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so masterful and engaging. Like you're saying, you could listen to it and kept listening to the whole piece. Yeah, I enjoyed this very much. But we'll talk about that later. But I enjoyed every one of the tracks.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Good. What about you, Drew?
Yeah. What about you?
Well, I was going to say his playing sounds so simple, moves so easy. It's just beautiful. And to hear that was really just cool. So, great clip.
Yeah, it's funny because you can't classify it as West Coast jazz, but it's close. I mean, just the whole feel of this album, to me, if it was Stan Getz playing this music, you'd be like, okay, yeah, cool. It's cool West Coast.
Yep.
And I think only because it's Sonny Rollins is it not West Coast or cool jazz.
This is West Coast chill, but as my opener said, it's almost an answer to that hard driving bop of the time in New York. So it's a response to what has been going on. So it just chills out.
Yeah.
Feet in the sand.
All right. Yep. Cool.
So
what's your clip?
The clip that I wanted to hear and highlight doesn't highlight Sonny. I wanted to highlight Tommy Flanagan on the piano. And I find that his playing in this song, Strode Road. This is another Sonny Rollins composition, just like St. Thomas was. So to me, I wanted to focus on Sonny's songs. And so I chose Strode Road. It started without me. I chose Strode Road at 1 minute and 50 seconds. Now, what
Ah.
you don't hear is the head of the song, but he quotes it there towards the end of that clip over and over and over again. And I just love the fact that he keeps going back to the melody of the song in his solo. Da 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 da. And he keeps using that phrase over, and as a learning improviser, they always tell you, just quote the melody, you'll be fine. Quote the melody, you'll be fine. And he quotes the melody. That's why I wanted to focus on Tommy Flanagan.
What's the timing signature for that song?
I had to assume it was a 4/4.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh man, it's a good thing you. It's a good question. I wasn't even paying attention.
Yeah.
But it.
I know somebody
Come
that
on,
can,
Max Roach Jr., tell me.
I know somebody I can ask. I'll ask her to listen to part of that, and she could tell us.
Holy cow! And I'll talk about this in my notes. But Flanagan has got a list of side work, almost longer than anyone I've ever seen.
Really?
I mean, Dexter Gordon, Lionel Hampton, Wilbur Hardin, Coltrane, Milt Jackson, J.J. Johnson, Jerry Mulligan, of course, Sonny Rollins, Clark Terry. The list is literally, it just goes on and on and on and on. So if you're not familiar with Tommy Flanagan, man, get to know him, because that's a whole nother rabbit hole of music that you could go down.
Yeah.
Just listening to Tommy Flanagan.
He's very good. He is so good. He is so very good.
And actually, you know what? Listen, while we're talking about in my notes, I actually, this was one of my notes from when we did it. Who the F is Tommy Flanagan? His list is so long and distinguished, and it's longer than my arm. So
You're right. You said it right here. Turn the page. Who the heck is Tommy Flanagan? Rabbit hole already.
Yep. So that's a great clip to highlight Tommy. Thank you.
Now, I did change clips because I was going to do You Don't Know What Love Is, because we've heard it so many times, and it was the solo that I wanted to highlight. However, this weekend, I heard an incredible piano player. And so when I went back and listened to Tommy, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to highlight piano players. So
Awesome. Well, hey, this is a great time for a commercial. We are using the JazzWise magazine's top 100 albums that shook the world as our guide in our jazz journey. This list is from 2022. Please go out and get your own copy of the top 100 albums that shook the world so you can follow along in our journey. Of course, we are counting down from the top 100 on episode number 94 this week. Right? Yeah, Sonny Rollins. It's number 6 on our list.
Yeah.
So we've done 94 episodes so far. This is number 6 on our list, and thank you so much for joining us. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and make sure you hit that bell so you get notifications when our new episodes drop. Okay,
Matt,
commercial's over.
I was going to say this. After that commercial, you realize that at Christmas, a month from now, 3 years ago, I received this copy. And that's what launched us into, well, let's just talk about jazz. Let's just use your magazine. Let's dialogue once a week. 3 years later, once a week, and over the last 2 years now, we've been recording the episodes. And over the last, well over a year, about 14, 15 months, it's been the three of us talking about that album. So
Yeah, well, in the first 15 weeks, you would text a picture of the artist in the magazine and send it to me. I didn't even have my own magazine because wasn't even sure we were going to get into it this deep. But man, what a
we
journey.
are at number 6.
Number 6. Yeah.
From 100 down, man.
Yeah.
So
Beautiful, beautiful journey.
as we always have, Matt, it's that time to begin the information.
Okay.
You ready to kick off the slideshow?
I'm ready to do it. Just like I've said for 94 other episodes, whatever you do it to jazz. Of course, this week, again, we are talking about Sonny Rollins and the album Saxophone Colossus, recorded in 1956. Okay, so yeah, I put a picture of the artwork in the slideshow. I'm really digging the artwork. You know, it's simple yet deep. Got
It's interesting. It's a prestige album, right?
Yep,
It looks like it ought to be a cover on a Blue Note.
that's what I thought too. That's what I thought too. Just, I don't know. I like to highlight the artwork of the album. I think though, if I was just skimming through a box of LPs or something and saw this album, it wouldn't necessarily make me want to listen to it. So I don't know. Whatever. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. The jazz style for the day. This style has nothing to do with the artist we're talking about, and we are going in alphabetical order from the Wikipedia page. Tonight's style, jazz funk. Jazz funk is a subgenre of jazz music characterized by a strong backbeat or the groove, electrified sounds, and an early prevalence of analog synthesizers. Herbie Hancock is one of the examples that I can think of for jazz funk. Some of Herbie's albums later in the 70s definitely classified as jazz funk. I didn't pick one like to necessarily highlight, but and I'm sure our listeners can comment who they think is the best jazz funk.
Absolutely.
But Herbie's one that came to mind. Where you can get it, of course, you can get it. Colossus, you can get Saxophone Colossus on all the major streaming platforms. We would prefer that you go out to your local record store and buy a brand new copy of Sonny Rollins' Saxophone Colossus. So, yep, shop local, stay local. I went ahead and put a quote on the bottom of that slide from Sonny, just like I do every week. This one hit me really hard this week because I'm such a big Ted Lasso fan. Music represents nature. Nature represents life. Jazz represents nature. Jazz is life. Quote by Sonny Rollins. And if you've seen Ted Lasso, you know football is life, but for us, jazz is life. Nothing deep about it. This is just one that I may get tattooed later. Jazz is life.
Jazz is life.
All right. Let's move on to the next slide. This year in history, I did pick 1956 this year. This is the year that the album was recorded, and that's why we're covering 1956. In 1956, Heartbreak Hotel from Elvis hits the charts, and this is his first chart-topping hit, Heartbreak Hotel, 1956. My Fair Lady hits Broadway for the first time in 1956, and the boxer Rocky Marciano retires, and he never lost a fight, so he retired at the top of his game, obviously. Few jazz albums that came out in 1956, Miles, Roundabout Midnight, Mingus's, I butchered the spelling.
Pithecanthropus erectus.
Hippocampus.
No, there's more letters in there.
Hippocampus.
He spelled it wrong on the now I can see it all.
Yeah.
Yes, erectus.
Yeah. And Cesar Taylor's Jazz Advance are some of the jazz albums that come out this year. Clifford Brown and Art Tatum pass away in 1956, and if you know anything about Clifford, yep, it was tragic in 1956. A couple of jazz stars that were born in 1956. We've got Kenny G on the saxophone and Steve Coleman from our episode at one of the starting on our journey. We covered Steve Coleman, M bass, starter of M bass. So he passed away he was born in 1956. Go ahead and read it. Did you look it up?
It's you were close. It's Pithecan. I did just look it up, and now I can't even say it again. Pithecantropus. Pithecanthropus erectus.
Yeah.
Or old human being. Old.
Old.
I wanted to highlight. We've gone joking aside. The Clifford Brown and Art Tatum pass. I'm going to mention that here in just a little bit as well. So we'll get back into that one.
Okay. Pithecanthropus. Yeah.
That's it.
Pithecanthropus.
Say it again.
Pithecanthropus.
There you go.
Excellent.
That was Ancient Humans.
Ancient Humans, yeah. And that was a Mingus album that came out in 56. That's the only reason I highlighted. I did not mean to misspell it. It's been a week.
I'll correct the spelling on it, Matt. I'll just red mark it out and spell it correctly.
Spell it the right way. Yeah, thanks. All right, let's move on to the timeline slide. And because Sonny is still alive, we haven't filled in the dash yet. So that starting dash was in 1930, and that's when Sonny was born. He started his professional career in 1949. So at 19, literally, he graduated high school, started playing professionally in 49. Of course, 1956 was this album was recorded and released. And in the 80s, he started on the pop, rock, and funk styles. So it's when he kind of moved, just like a lot of other musicians kind of changed their style in the 80s. Sonny really came into the pop, rock, funk styles in the 80s. 2017, he donated his entire archive to the New York Museum of Art, so that it's a different subsidy of the Museum of Art, but he donated his entire archive. Said, "Here you go, you can have it." So I just thought that was an interesting fact to highlight. Again, these are just a few facts.
Yeah.
There's a lot to cover in the information slide that we'll get to next.
And I want to fill in one of those blanks between the 80s and 2017. In 2014, he officially retired.
Yes.
To note, one of the greats of jazz. Most of them we see passing away from whatever causes. He retired and had to walk away for health reasons. So in 2017, to donate everything, all of this to the archives, was a big tip of the hat. Yeah. 70 years of playing music, baby. 70 years.
That's quite an accomplishment. I mean, not that music ever gets boring. Not that I'm sure traveling and touring would wear on you, but 70 years of just hanging out and playing. Think of the time span of musicians that he inspired.
Oh yeah. And will continue to. I mean, that's the most amazing part. We'll continue.
Let's go ahead and move on to the information slide, and we'll get deep into our discussion about Sonny Rollins. Some of the influences, and this is just some of the influences that I found, was Coleman Hawkins, Louis Jordan, and of course the great Jackie McLean are just some of the influences. Later in my reading, of course, I read a lot Friday and Saturday. Sunday while I'm putting the slideshow together, and then I'm reading even more this morning and really digging into his website. And actually, the website that Sonny has is really cool. If sonnyrollins.com, just go check out his site. There's some more of his influences on the website. The discography, here's what I got. He's got 49 studio CDs and 11 live CDs. So that's quite a library of listening.
Yeah.
Keep you busy for a while. And I know that I didn't even cover, I just scratched the surface last year and this week even on the Sonny Rollins discography. So.
Yeah. I scratched a little more than the surface this week, gorging on Sonny. I wanted to dig into, of course, Thelonious Monk and Sonny. I listened to that last week for Monk and again this week for that. He's also played with some really powerful people and been on many of those recordings. So he has 49 studio, but I'm not going to try to count real quick. Probably 25, 24 as a sideman's with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, he's no slouch. I mean, with a 70-year career, he's no slouch. Yeah. And those are just the performances that were recorded, let alone all the live performances and stuff that weren't recorded. So a great career for sure. The genre that I have listed for Sonny is hard bop and jazz. I mean, it'd be hard to throw in pretty much anything else, third stream or but those are the ones that are listed on his wiki page, and those are the ones that he talks about on his bio. the genres that he really enjoyed playing. So hard bop and jazz. Okay. 6 Degrees is fairly easy this week because he played with Miles from 51 to 57. So just 1 degree of separation between Sonny and Miles Davis. So yeah, 6 Degrees this week was super easy. And these are just a few facts about Sonny Rollins. This guy has a list of accomplishments longer than almost his, than his arm. But few facts about Sonny. He recorded with Miles Davis, Charlie Parker, and Thelonious Monk. He got his nickname based on the Dodgers pitcher Don Newcomb. So his nickname was Nuke, based on a facial tic that they both had very, very similar. So Sonny must have had a tic, and the pitcher for the Dodgers had a tic, and so Sonny got the nickname Nuke. And actually, one of Sonny's albums is Nuke's Time from 50. I believe that's 58 album. Nuke's Time is from 58 or 59, one of the two. But it's just funny that he uses his nickname in the album title. So I wanted to highlight 57. Yeah. Okay. What'd I say? 58?
Yeah, you were on.
Yeah, I was wrong. Anyways.
I said you were on.
Okay.
Give it 3 or 4 years, you were still in the ballpark. So
yep, that's right.
Way to keep it in the end zone, baby. Good one.
In the infield. In the infield. I'll keep it in the infield, not the end zone. We're talking about two different sports. Dad, come on.
To the penalty box on that bunt.
You did not roll a strike on that. So
no.
Foul ball.
Foul
Gutter
ball.
That's it. Gutter ball.
Gutter ball. Oh boy. All right. One of the other facts about Sonny, he was the inspiration for the pianoless sax trio. Now here's the funny part. I started researching this after I wrote that fact down last night on the slideshow, but I could really only find 1 or 2 albums that Sonny didn't have a piano on. So we'll talk about it in a little bit, but I just found it interesting. I would have thought that more of his collection would have been pianoless if he was the inspiration. But in the wiki page, it talks about Joshua Redman. It talks about some of the other up and coming artists that I'm sure that we will get into going pianoless, just going drums, bass, and sax without the piano. So.
And now I'm drawing a blank because you mentioned this. There was other trios that would go no chordal instruments, no guitars, no pianos, and so it would have been a bass and sax and a trumpet or something like that. There were other.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he was the inspiration for the piano list, though.
Correct.
Cool.
And I know. Isn't that interesting? But and then they did again talk about some of the newer artists that have really influenced that pianoless trio. So I just found it interesting. That's why I highlighted it. 1973 is the year that Downbeat inaugurated him to the Hall of Fame, Downbeat Hall of Fame. And then in 2010, he was awarded the National Medal of Arts. Now, again, I could go on and on and on about his accomplishments, the honorary doctorates that all of the major universities and music schools have given him. These are just a few facts. So don't come at us with, oh, you forgot this and you forgot that, because, yeah, we did. We can't highlight everything. We'd love to. I would love to be able to talk about all his accomplishments, but these are just a few that I like to highlight. All right, let's talk about saxophone Colossus. And I spelled it wrong on the slideshow. I put 2 L's in there. Man, I'm slipping. You're going to have to find another co-host. We're going to have to let Dad take over the slideshow.
I don't think so.
He's part-time temporary between now and January.
Yeah,
Can't rely on either of you, for crying out loud.
Yeah, part-time pay too, right? Part-time pay.
Part-time temporary pay.
Yes, of course.
All right. Saxophone Colossus was Sonny's 6th studio album. I like to see the albums that come before and come after, so highlight the 6th studio album. It was recorded at Rudy Van Gelder Studios. Again, that's important to us. We typically really dig the RVG recordings over some of the other ones, just because it's fun to talk about. This album was critically acclaimed by all of the major critics, except for that Record Mirror. And I think we slammed them a couple of weeks ago for doing another album, only 3 out of 5 stars. Record Mirror, I come to find out, was as English publication, did not last long in publication, but they gave this album a 3 out of 5 stars, where all of the other critics downbeat, jazz wise, all of them 5 out of 5 stars.
Well, it wasn't Tubby Hayes, so they didn't care about any other sax player.
That's true. That's true. But I just found it interesting. Like one of these is not like the other, and you were the odd man out giving it 3 stars. Okay, you got your opinion, and
It's wrong, but it's your opinion.
Your
You're
opinion.
free to have it.
Still wrong, but all right. And then in 2016. The National Recording Registrar archived this for historical preservation. So Saxophone Colossus will last forever in the archives. That does it for the slideshow for me. Thank you so much for letting me do that.
Excellent. Thank you, Matt.
Matt, I respect each week how much information you put into digging into this, finding out the information and every little nugget. There are so many that we've already talked about, so many that I've looked at. But each week you continue to bring something out that I just go, I didn't realize that, didn't know that. So I appreciate your due diligence each week, even if you do misspell words like Pithecanthropus and Colossus. I went to public school too, so I didn't even spell check your work.
You guys went to Harding, didn't you?
It's a 7-syllable word, Pithecanthropus.
It's bigger than Mingus,
Anyway, so let's just talk about the album just a little bit more. Dad, what's your overall impression of Saxophone Colossus?
Well, I've listened to it several times over and over again. At times it was just one of the tracks. Other times there's 2 or 3 or 4 of them, and there's just 5 on the album, as I understand. And it just, you melt into it, really. And Sonny has such a way, a smooth and melodious type way with playing the saxophone. It just brings you into the music. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed this album. It's got everything on it, including my friend Max, who he is so good.
Yeah.
So very good. I had considered 2 or 3 other highlights, but I know I was restricted, so I stuck to the one I had. Otherwise, I would have chosen a couple of the other tracks to highlight my man Max. So
why are you laughing, Matt? You're replaying last week's conversation, aren't you?
Yeah, because there's going to come a time when I'm going to want to play 2 clips. Yep. So I'm just saving them up.
So this was a excellent album. Could hardly get enough of it.
I like what you said, how it actually invites you in. It draws you in almost. And I felt that way this week too, where I just didn't want to stop. So it was great descriptive words. You think it's recognizable? Do you think if you heard a song besides St. Thomas later on, do you think you'd recognize it as Sonny Rollins?
I don't want to jump and say for sure, but if I listen to it several other times, I think I could recognize it. If one put a track on, I think I could say that's a Sonny Rollins. At least I could say that's Sonny Rollins.
Yeah.
Whether I had the specific track or not.
Oh yeah,
I don't know.
I don't think I would not be good at that game.
You know, I might recognize Mac the Knife. I might recognize that because he plays it a little bit differently than other artists that we've listened to.
Yeah.
So I might recognize if that came up, I'd say, yeah, that's Max Roach. I'm sorry, not Max. That's Sonny Rollins playing.
Yeah.
So there.
And that would have been the song titled on his album, Moritat, a.k.a. Mac the Knife.
Yeah. I feel like we've talked about Moritat before, because I do remember the conversation of the 3-act play.
Yeah.
Was that in our person?
Three penny play.
Penny play?
We talked about it when Dad mentioned Bobby Darin doing Mac the Knife during Ella Fitzgerald's singing of that song.
There you go. Yes.
And Mac the Knife was popularized by Pops. So after he played it and then Ella did it or sang with it, and then it was there was somebody else that sang Mac the Knife, but Ella wasn't it? It was Sassy Swings the Tivoli. Didn't she do that at the Tivoli and she forgot the lyrics?
She forgot the lyrics.
And then filled in the blanks and said something random. So we've heard this song several times.
Yeah.
I can't remember what she said, but she was like, it had big old shark teeth. And I forgot the lyrics, but you don't understand anyways. So let's keep swinging.
They can't understand me, so I'll just say anything that.
But she could get away with it.
Of course she
could.
For sure.
So, Matt, your thoughts on the album was just swinging.
Oh, it was totally swinging. Like Dad, you just kind of get sucked into it. It's an easy 40 minutes. It's not hard. You know, by the time the 40 minutes is up and the album is over, I wanted more. I wanted more of the same. You know, that pepper chicken on the buffet, that pepper chicken on the buffet that I can go up and get until I'm completely full is what I wanted. So, you know, I think you and I watched the concert, the documentary concert on Sonny on YouTube. So I didn't save the link this week, but I'll make sure to send it to you before producing the video. So we have the link for the Sonny Rollins concert on YouTube, which is just, it's fun to watch. It's interesting the way that he plays and interacts with the band on the stage that night. So I don't know. I just fell in love with Sonny. You know, it's funny because on our journey here, we've come across so many names that we've never heard of, and you turn the page, you think, who is this? And we hadn't talked about Sonny much in the last 94 episodes.
No.
And if we have, you don't think it's memorable, but then you come across and you study him all week and you listen to him for a year, and you realize kind of it's easy to fall in love with Sonny's work and enjoy more than just Saxophone Colossus. So that's kind of what I did this week. Is that, you know, as many times as I listened to it this week, I wanted to hear more Sonny. So we'll talk about that in my week in music. But what about you, Drew?
I love the album so much that I went 12 other albums deep. I, of course, had to hear the album before and the album after because I love catching this. Just like you guys said, it was just too short. I wanted more. And I wanted more of his sound. I wanted more of the feel. I wanted more of the smiles that you get. It's that heartwarming, kind of can't be in a bad mood listening to him play. And then as I went through 56, so Tenor Madness, I learned that song early on. It was one of Lily's favorites when she was playing the tenor. So, of course, that was the album right before this. Then Sonny Plays for Bird was the album recorded after it. Loved it. And then I went on to Freedom Suite, 1958, that Max Roach was on. Sonny Meets Hawk. Oh, Coleman Hawkins and Sonny Rollins together. It's realizing that Coleman Hawkins is one of his influences. It had to be a dream come true moment to record with your influence, with somebody who you admire. The Way I Feel. And then I found a video somebody had recorded on YouTube. Thank you very much for whoever did this. Some of the tracks from Sonny, Please, from 2006. So, of course, then my YouTube channel and my YouTube music are now looking for anything Sonny related. So what always came next was some kind of a Sonny or Coleman Hawkins track. So to me, the way, we talk about individual pieces, the whole album went from beginning to end very smooth like.
Mm-hmm.
And you knew that each song was separate, but you knew it was all part of the overall story of this particular album. And we haven't mentioned, so I want to make sure I do that. We talked about Tommy Flanagan on the piano, Sonny Rollins on the tenor saxophone, of course. Doug Watkins was the bass player on this. Look into that name as well. But Max Roach, when you got Max Roach on drums, how are you going to go wrong? I mean, how are you going to go wrong?
Right.
So to me, the album was just brilliant. I loved every moment of it. Now, I do have to note this, and this is what I've been biting at the bit for. While he's recording this album with Max Roach, he is also working with Clifford Brown and Max Roach on the Max Roach Clifford Brown quintet.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an album that we've already covered. Sonny is recording with Clifford Brown at this time. This recording took place right 4 days before Clifford and Richie Powell met their demise in that car crash. So they had just recorded the album. I'm thinking Sonny's going back to work with Clifford. Sonny was not in the car when the car crashed, but he was on the way to the gig in Chicago. So all of this was combining. To me, I don't care who plays with Miles. Somebody plays with Clifford Brown, you're my hero. So Sonny Rollins and Clifford Brown played together. And that's I wanted to mention that. Here you have Sonny Rollins's repeatable, smooth, easy phrasing. And he finds these patterns, he finds these riffs, and he sticks to it, which is what I loved about his solo in your clip on St. Thomas. He just plays with some of the same rhythms. And then at the very same time, you're recording with Clifford Brown and Max Roach, that hard bop New York style, mm-hmm. which is why I found what Ralph had said from Downbeat Magazine as such a treat. Here it is, all the hard bop sounds of New York, Philadelphia, East Coast, and you're going to introduce this album and just drop it. It's a mic drop to talent. Mm-hmm. We heard it last night. I'll say it again, but we heard it last night from both Joe and Paul Deemer. Pick your rhythms, stick with them, learn them, but also be able to play all of those rhythms in different styles. If you can play funk, if you can play hard bop, if you can play bebop, if you can play church hymns, if you can play gospel, if you can play traditional Christmas music, you get gigs. And Sonny could play it all. I love Sonny.
Yeah. Yeah.
I found it surprising that this group on Colossus did not stay together. I would have anticipated this group would have carried over for several years, but that's not the way I understand it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
I think just kind of the way that it works and the circles that they all run in, and I'm thinking of Clark Terry and reading his book and how busy he was moving from one performance to the other, to the recording studio, to the practice, and then you get in this rhythm of almost chaos of playing with everyone all at the same time. Like Drew said, it's 4 days later he was recording with Clifford Brown. So yes, okay, we covered Brubeck. Brubeck stayed with Paul Desmond
and Joe Morello for forever.
For 3 decades, yeah. And they stayed together. But I think with some of these other musicians, it's not about I don't like playing with you or I didn't like that recording, but let's go find someone else to record with. Let's find someone else. Well, what do you think, Dad?
Well, and I can talk about this when we get to Weekend Music, but it wasn't always that way, though there was exchanges going back and forth from one group to the next. But for the most part, like you're saying, the big bands, they kept their members pretty solid. They didn't change a a lot of artists with the instrumentation. So they kept the artists on their staff, so to speak, on their bandstand. And that's part of the reason I asked the question,
Yeah.
because these guys are so good together, so dynamic together, that you would think, let's do this. Let's keep doing this. Let's keep working this. Let's keep producing.
Milking it. Let's milk
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Work.
Good work. Yeah. We got a good thing going. Let's.
In jazz history, those big bands got dispersed during the war. Coming back, you couldn't support that large big band with the amount of money going to be earned. So we started to see in the late 40s these small quintets, even Miles's nonettes. But we saw these smaller groups for affordability. And once it really did move to commercialized music, which is what we talked about with Charles Mingus, now it's about who's on my record label. You can only record with people that are on your label. Or there was a conflict of interest between Clifford being on this label and them being on that label, and so can you record together? Well, it depends on how each person's contract was signed. Then there is a reality, who's available for the recording session?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to go. Friday and Saturday night, I got to listen to an incredible group of musicians play together at Jazz at St. James. Didn't make it on Sunday morning for the Jazz Mass, but I was there for the concert Friday and Saturday night. I got to volunteer and help before and after on Friday and Saturday. Diego Rivera is the University of Texas jazz professor. I think he oversees the department. Tenor sax player, brilliant. His bass player is in the master's program. So he's a University of Texas student. The dude is phenomenal. Xavier Davis, and thank you for subscribing. I really appreciated that greatly, but I appreciated meeting the brilliant pianist. And Xavier Davis is a professor at Michigan State in East Lansing, so right up in y'all's neck of the woods.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant pianist. And I got to talk with him briefly. And then Quincy Davis, the drummer, another member of Michigan State's jazz program. These two were available, so they came to back up Diego Rivera. So if you record this as an album, you've got four people that don't really ever play together. Now, Diego has played with these two guys before because he was also at Michigan State for, what did he say, 20 years teaching. So those three have played together, but haven't in a very long time. This was a family reunion, and then they brought in a bass student to play. Again, if you record this as an album, these are four random strangers, or not necessarily strangers, but they haven't played together in a while. Well, if the piano player wasn't, and he said he's been touring all over the place, so for us to have Xavier here tonight, I'm just glad that nobody else was working on this weekend, so we get to have him. It could have been a different piano player. Could have been a different drummer. And so that's why I think that some of this is where you're moving to. What's moving and shaking at the time, who's available to record. I got the studio, Prestige is going to do it, but crap, I don't have a drummer. Hey, Max, I'm recording with you and Clifford right now. Can you sit in on drums? Sure, why not? So that's my take on that.
All right, are you guys ready to rate?
Yeah.
Okay. Dad, why don't you go first? We let you go first about your thoughts on the album. So go first on your rating.
Okay. I had no trouble rating this at a 10. Yep. No trouble at all.
Shebang.
Yep. I will say I had to listen to Mac the Knife 3 or 4 times to catch Mac the Knife. But yeah, a 10 in every category. And I don't know how I could rate it any differently. Because like I said earlier, just kind of you melt into it and it just warms and you just want to get more of it and hear more and more of it. And Sonny Rollins is so good.
Yeah.
And 70 years of playing.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
Well, that's a great rating. That really is. It doesn't surprise me that you enjoyed it that much. I was actually anticipating your score being on the high side for this week, just because it's an easy to listen to album. Would would you recommend it to a first time listener, someone who
really think I would,
who has never listened to jazz and
because it is a softer side, a softer side of jazz, and he's not blowing through the saxophone,
yeah,
and the pianist is so very good,
yeah,
and the bass player, my word, you can't hear enough of his playing and how they blend together to bring this beautiful music. And of course, our man Max, he's Mad Max, man. I'll tell you, he's good. He is very good.
Do you think Sonny's name would come to the top, though, if you're talking to a new listener? Do you think Sonny would come up in conversation? Oh, hey, what do you think about Sonny Rollins? As far as you go, I mean, you seem to talk to people, a lot of people about jazz, whereas I have small circles of people that I talk to about jazz. And would Sonny be one of the ones that came to the top of your head?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think it would. I think he would.
Yeah.
I can picture him on stage, and I'll say more about that when it's our week in music. But
Okay, cool.
yeah,
That's 10 is a great score. My turn. Okay. All right. For me this week, it met all of the criteria. The craftsmanship, of course, was there. The awareness, I could feel the feeling of the album. Creativity is off the chart for me. The spirit of the album, you can't help but fall in love with Sonny and his whole spirit on this album. The emotion for me this week was very, very high. For whatever reason, we rated it a year ago. I only gave it a 9.5, and I'm going to stick to it. 9.5 rating for me for Saxophone Colossus.
I've been meaning to ask this because I can't find it on my slide and I can't close my screen. What are our 5 points criteria again?
Okay, 5 points of criteria were craftsmanship, they were awareness, creativity, spirit, and then we, of course, added the final one, the emotion. How does this album make us feel? What, were we drawn in? Did we not like it? Did it push us off?
Yeah.
So, it's funny because I have to admit, I'm a TikTok freak, fanatic. I watch it every morning, and this morning there was a TikToker talking about artwork, actual art, paintings and artwork, and he said, I don't like some styles and I love other styles. And music is the same way. Music is an art. So something that I enjoy very, very much, you may not enjoy. Our listeners may not enjoy. But 9.5 for me this week is as high as I could go. I don't know why I couldn't go all the way to a 10, because I loved the whole thing and I wanted more. But
I had no notes on why we scored what we did. Usually there's a reason, which when we get into our week in music, it shapes our listening experience. Some weeks it hits us harder than others. Some weeks I just don't want to tune in. But most of the time it does impact that. My score for this album matches yours, Matt. It was a 9.5. I don't know that I'm wondering, I'm stuttering here. I almost wonder if it was just too damn short.
it very well could have been.
I can't give you a 10 because there wasn't enough music for me to enjoy. I don't know if that's my reasoning. Matt, you and I have always matched pretty well, and over the last 60 weeks, we're finding that all three of us are jiving about the same feeling that obviously the magazine has thought about. What is it? The emotion for me, I love this album. So chill, so easy, so fun. So that was 1957. So I'm going to flip it and say 2025. Old Man New Jazz, tell me. What's
all
going
right.
on?
What's new?
I hope you're ready for this. Because what we have today is an album called Phoenix by Lucretia Benjamin. It was released in 2023. And if you see the slide there, this is a knockout album cover, and the obviously the color, the red background, the gold, and the cape is red and gold color, and she almost looks like this, like scales on her her pants. It's like, I'm going to eat you alive, and with her sax playing, and that's what she does. She's New York based. She was born in New York and resided there. Says here she honed her chops with Clark Terry and Terry Lynn Carrington. She debuted in 2012, but I don't think that speaks of how old she really is. I couldn't find the date of her birth. They kind of covered that up for whatever reason. There's a couple tracks on here that I would suggest that our listeners go to and check out, because one of the tracks is New Mornings, and I think our listeners would like that. Obviously the track Phoenix. Now there's vocals in and out of several of these tracks, which really don't deflect or take away from the music itself, but some of the vocals I had difficulty. There's some narration going on. The first track, American Skin, is wild and crazy because it starts with sirens, and you hear sirens in the background. Then you hear what sounds like guns going off, bam, 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 and then it goes to vocals about what is going on in our world, and then she goes into the sax. So one of the other tracks is called Jubilation. I think that is a highlight for me. So I recommend the Keisha Benjamin on Phoenix. There you go. So
Matt, where the heck? First of all, where's he coming up with this list? But second of all, and I've got to be honest, I don't just think about picking at random. So I know that Dad's put some thought into this. I know that he's at least listened to several other albums so that he could say, this is the one that we need to pick. But I just don't see him picking Phoenix.
No.
The way in which it started, I was like, oh, man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to deal with this. And then it starts, and it ended, the album ended, and I was like, well, I'm just going to hit replay. I listened to it on Friday night on my way east to St. James and on my way home. I had time to listen to the album twice on Friday night, and I'm like, man, maybe on Saturday on my drive over there, I can listen to it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I listened to Sonny Rollins, but
I don't think he's going to share his ancient Chinese secret of where the fortune cookies are leading him to these new artists. It was a great pick, and when I started researching her and I found that she studied under Clark Terry, I instantly it's not that I didn't take notice. It's not that I didn't put the album on and listen to it, but man, when you realize she's played with the great CT, you better pay attention. And that's when I started paying attention. I will say, and I'm looking at the jazz genres on Wiki. This one, I would go more what's called a sub-style of new jazz, NU, new.
Yep.
It's a music that blends elements with other styles of music such as funk, soul, electronic dance music, and free improv. Not necessarily free improv, but the new jazz style for me, for Lakeisha, was spot on. I mean, almost not quite. It's different than Courtney Pine's Modern Day Stories. I love Modern Day Stories from Courtney. This one goes one step further to the new jazz style, as far as I'm concerned. But
Dad was about to jump through the camera on you.
Why?
I don't know.
Were you gonna pick the jazz genre that this one was in?
No, I'm glad you guys liked it.
Yeah.
Really. I'm not surprised. In a way, I'm not surprised. In another way, I thought, well, the way it kicks off, it could be off-putting, but until that is over, that whole beginning, and then you hear the music come through.
Yeah.
Remember Whiteheart, and they dialed the phone.
Miss
Mhm.
Gershmel's phone number.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
and they what was it they heard?
Boo doo dee. We're sorry.
Yeah.
The call you have
Yeah.
the call you have made is incomplete.
Yeah.
And then they began vital signs. That's
Yep.
burned
Yeah,
into
so
my
that-
memory.
So that's kind of what this is.
So your weekend music, A, what led you to this, but B, what's going on in your world, old man?
Well, let me tell you, I'm going to start by saying that for my birthday, Lady D bought me the. Can you read that?
The
Yes.
master of drums.
The Master of Drums.
I didn't get you nothing for your birthday. Just a
No,
hard
you-
time.
You laughed at me, which I expect. And
I am the
that's-
middle son.
yes, yes, definitely.
At least I got him something for his birthday. And
Right?
Yeah.
his daughter-in-law got him something for his birthday too. Kendra got him something for his birthday.
Yep.
Oh, Drew, you're
So-
slack. You're slacking.
So that was part of my week. I was reading. I could hardly put this book down, The Master of Drums, none other than Mr. Gene Krupa. And obviously from the 20s, 30s, 40s, he was the go-to guy. He was not always appreciated because he was a wild and crazy guy. He was flailing on those drums. His arms were going everywhere. And he, at times, you could feel like he's stealing the show from Benny Goodman. And so there had been some friction between the two, but they pretty much stuck together. So yeah, Gene Krupa, I've watched several of his videos. So otherwise, my weekend music, good heavens, I listened to a track of Mr. Bix Beiderbecke.
Oh wow.
I didn't write which one it was, but obviously Bix has been around, not for a long time, but it was a good track. Pat Metheny, 81. I listened to some tracks on Joe Harriet, and of course, let me say this: Under Wormwood. Oh man,
Under Milkwood.
Yeah.
that's kind of what I said, but I
Stan
said,
Tracy
well,
Quartet.
Yes.
yep, that's it.
You needed a nap.
Yeah, yeah. And then Sonny Rollins, 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 tracks by Sonny. A Night at the Village Vanguard,
Oh yeah, right.
1957. Live in Europe, 1959. Trio 59. Ladybird. Whew. And Jazz Vienna, 2011 live. Now I'm telling you, that's one that you should really watch. Here's this ancient man. He must be 75 years old. Or close. He walks out on the stage shuffling on the stage, bent over, and then he puts the sax in his chops. And I'm telling you, he gets into it, but as well, he plays his part, and then he kind of backs away and lets the other musician go. And he's not hogging the stage at all, trying to up one anybody. But what an ovation he got. Now, two last things. Two last things. Lady D sent me a video done by Drumeo, which is a service that people can follow. And the Drumeo video was discussing Love Supreme. And it's a go-to video. And that Jared, I forget, is Jared Falk or something, he explains some of the background and some of the highlights, some of the beats and stuff of of this. Then Matt, years and years ago, 20 years ago, you got me hooked on some current stuff. Rick Cohen,
Yeah.
many other albums
Joan.
by Metheny,
Yeah.
Charlie Hayden, what's his name, Lyle Mays.
Ooh.
And so, I downloaded the first track on 20 different albums. And so I labeled them Smooth 1, Smooth 2, and I went through all of those, and it's so cool to listen to. So yeah, that's kind of my week.
You've had a lot of time to listen to music this week. You went from Peter Beck to Metheny to Sonny Rollins.
Yep.
John
all points
Coltrane.
in between. And
Well-
Drumeo. Now he's going to be watching Drumeo videos on nonstop.
Yeah.
We're going to ask Mom how he's doing. I don't know. He's always watching this drum thing. He's hooked on drum. He's going to binge watch thousands of hours of Drumeo in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it doesn't help me a lot, but
I was gonna say I watch hours of TikTok golf instruction. It does not make me a better golfer. I wish it did.
so some of the tracks on these on the stuff I've downloaded, you're going to be impressed. Some of it's Johnny, some of it's Enya. So
Okay, yeah.
it's a variety.
It's a variety. Yep,
It's
a variety.
music.
It's your music. You can be wrong if you want to. All right, who's next? Drew, you want to go or you want me to
You're
go?
up.
All right, here we go. Of course, I'm on my Coltrane journey as well. Trying to finish all 60 Coltrane CDs before the end of the year. Man, I'm rating a lot in the early years, really, really high. I'm just going through giving my own rating of each CD, of each album. So I binged a lot of Coltrane this week. Besides that, our episode of Dave Brubeck came out. I made it through about 5 minutes of that. Well, it didn't come out, but I was rewatching it because I love Brubeck so much. And then I had to stop the episode and go start listening to Paul Desmond and all of his solo work because I wanted to hear Paul Desmond play without Dave Brubeck. That's what made me think of Brubeck earlier when you were talking about the band staying together. Of course, I had to do more Sonny. So I did Sonny Rollins Volume 2. I did Nuke's Time from 57. I did A Night at the Village Vanguard, Saxophone Colossus. I did Real Life from 1983. Freedom Suite from 58 is the one that was the pianoless one that I meant to mention earlier. So Freedom Suite. And then the other one, Sunny Side Up.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, with Dizzy Gillespie, Sonny Stitt, and Sonny Rollins. Holy cow. Holy cow. I mean, you put Diz and Sonny together, forget about it. It's on. It's on like donkey. And you could just sit there and keep listening to it. So I love Sunny Side Up. I put Holy S. Diz is amazing on that album. I mean, Diz is amazing anyways, but
Yeah.
you put Sonny Rollins, Sonny Stitt, and Diz together. It's a power trio. So I really dug Sunny Side Up. So yeah, I mean, it's just kind of been eclectic here and there. I tried to make good notes, but my Coltrane music didn't take precedence. But I did at least a couple albums every day last week of Coltrane, and then a couple of Sonny. So that's why I fell in love again with Sonny this week, because he's different than Coltrane. He doesn't try and make a gajillion notes in a song. He doesn't try and come across as honking and hard. And I'm still making notes about the early Coltrane albums where I make my notes. He hasn't started honking yet. He's not really overplaying. His runs are still smooth, this, that, and the other. And I'm anticipating some of the later albums, the Ascension especially.
Yeah.
He's just overblowing will be some of my notes. But I loved the compare and contrast this week of Coltrane and Sonny, because Sonny's got that cool West Coast, almost, again, West Coast style, but not. So that's where I was at with my week in music. work is still drudging on this week. I'm having another issue with my car, which was weighing on me this week. So that brake booster is going to be the death of me. So, but anyways, other than that, we had a great lunch together yesterday. Dad and Mom came over for lunch, and
We did.
the kids were here except for Lady D. She's doing Frozen the musical this month, so she's doing Frozen on opening day. Guess what happens in Fort Wayne? It snowed. Oh yeah, it snowed. We got a couple inches of snow on the ground, so
Wow.
it's cold. Golfing with Keaton on Saturday morning, snowing on Saturday night.
Wow.
And
So,
cold, very cold,
oh yeah.
wind
And,
chill type.
and golfing on Saturday morning, I was wearing a long sleeve and a vest, and by the time we got 7 holes deep, I was hot enough to take my vest off and just play in my long sleeve shirt. So the temperature swing was that much on Saturday to wake up to snow on the ground on Sunday morning. So great week otherwise. Love listening to jazz all week long.
Yeah.
All right, I'm done.
You know, we've had a busy week around here. A lot of things moving, especially into the weekend. School as usual during the week, but this weekend was the and of course this will come out 10 days later. So this was the weekend of the 11, 8, 9, and 10, 7, 8, 9. Each year, St. James Episcopal Church has an artist come in and they do jazz at St. James, put on by Joe Morales and all of the other staff at the church that makes this possible. St. James is just a great place to go listen to music, period. They got a great choir. When you're in the Baptist church and you're used to an hour and get out for lunch, don't go to the Episcopalian church because it's going to go until they're done, which could be 2 hours, maybe 3. But Jazz at St. James is 31 years strong. Joe's been the chair of this for a number of years, and this year Diego Rivera from UT was there. Friday night, they had the Houston Tilson All-Star Band, which has got a brand new jazz department put on by Jeremy George. Great bass player, great instructor. And then Saturday night, the UT All-Stars. I was asked to just compare the two, and let's have a dialogue after the fact. So on Saturday night, after all was wrapped up, I had to say the Houston Tilson group just brought it. They dropped it. It was just this raw, emotional display of music. Technically, no. But emotional, yes. They had their songs down. They knew what they were doing. And then the UT band comes up Saturday night, technically flawless. They were really brilliant. A little nervous, and you could feel that. And so I have to say the emotion was a little draining because it was so technically proficient that they were worried about missing a note. Which one was better? I don't really know that I can answer that. And then later I find out that the musicians from UT were wrapping up their master's degrees in music. The Houston Tilson group are freshmen and sophomores at the college majoring something other than music. So when you compare those two, which one's better? And I'm like, Houston Tilson wins it every day. Now,
Yeah.
Brilliant music. They all had about a 45-minute show. Super great. I was able to volunteer and help get some things done. Set up the lighting for the stage on Friday and then tore it down on Saturday night. So I had a lot of jazz going on in the weekend. Lily is out at the Model UN this weekend, so she was at a big conference. So I got to have my 4th official trumpet lesson with Joe. I love
Wow.
it when she's busy. We worked on rhythms, and he told me I got to learn play the blues in all 12 keys now. So I'm on a mission, going back to rhythm.
Okay,
And
wait, before you go on, I'm sorry to interrupt, but that was in my notes this week that I didn't read. And Dad, it was you that quoted it. You can't think and play at the same time. That's a Sonny Rollins quote that's in my notes.
I'm glad you brought that up because it's in mine, and that's where I was going with this. I was scrolling. I'm like, how do I read this exactly word for word? You can't think and play at the same time. You need to do it. When you're sitting in front of the drums, just do it. And what Paul said last night really blew me away. This is us. This isn't you outdoing them. This is us. We're here for the music of it. And afterwards, I got to tell him, man, I was just really mortified. I have a high respect for his abilities and as him as an individual. And so to have to play in front of him, I was just like, oh, crap. He goes, it's us. I'm not better. I'm not worse. We're here for music. Just do it. And I find comfort in that. And so for me, it's been a great weekend playing music. I've been playing my monk tunes, so I keep going through Thelonious Monk songs. I got 26 of them. And as I play more and more and more and practice more and more, I'm getting more and more comfortable with the ideas. Now, I still can't solo to get my butt out of a wet paper bag, but one day. So that's kind of me. Now we go from...
Let me ask you a question. Hang on before you go on. So you got Friday night and Saturday night. Did you get to comment on the Jazz that night? Because all I can think of is you calling a race event, a NASCAR event. Here they come around turn 4, and the trumpet section is really blowing their guts out, coming around. Oh, and there's a crash in the tuba section. The tuba section falls out.
I did not, but I was taking mental notes.
Okay.
I didn't know until after Friday night that I was going to have to compare the two. Their saxophone player from Houston Tilson. It was I would say Sonny Rollins. He was Lester Young.
Okay.
Just so smooth, and you wanted to listen to him for hours. Trombone player, same thing. So
Okay.
This group is just some kids, basically.
Freshman and sophomore college kids at Houston Tilson. They're there for a master's program in something, and most of them, it's music. There was Jeremy George took over the department, and he is now building a huge jazz department at Houston Tilson. Austin has done the same. Of course, you look at a major dominating school like UT in this minor, typically black African-American school. You've got David and Goliath, but for Houston Tilson to start pumping out musicians the way they do, phenomenal.
Well, and I'd almost rather hear heart than proficiency any day of the week. Bring that emotion to the music, whether you play a wrong note or not. I don't care. If I see that you're into it, I'm going to get into it. But if you're watching a band that sits back and the lead trumpet player is looking at anything but his chart because he's bored, because he's got to be there, forget about it, man. You can play all the right notes, but if you don't bring that emotion to the audience,
the Houston Tilson group had me getting out. I was in the video booth making sure that everything was running. They brought me out of the booth. I started dancing like Monk in the back of the auditorium. I was all offbeat, moving, step one way and walk another. I was like, got it in my soul.
What was the audience's response to these two groups?
The Jazz Angels and the attendants love it. This is their world to have these shows come down Friday and Saturday night. Again, usually Sunday morning is the one we most likely get to. That band will stand behind with the choir and do the music, special music for the mass, the Sunday morning service. So people love this. Dancing, I didn't see a lot of dancing because they were closer to Blue Hairs, but they'll start getting into it, and you can hear the ums and the amens and they love it. They really do, which is why they continue to do it year after year, 31 years later.
Sounds like a good week in music. Yeah. Sounds like a good week. So, mind if I introduce next week's album?
Take it away.
All right. Next week on our countdown, we've already done our commercial for the episode. We are on number 5. We are in the top 5, my friends. Top 5. Next week, the Bill Evans Trio. Sunday at the Village Vanguard is on a Riverside label on LP and CD. It highlights Bill Evans on piano, Scott LaFaro on bass, and Paul Motion on the drums. Recorded the 25th of June, 1961. Wow. Sunday at the Village Vanguard, Bill Evans Trio. Put it in your ears for next week.
A lot of great music comes from Village Vanguard.
Yep.
Can't imagine how wonderful this is about to be.
You
Looking
know it,
forward to it.
for sure.
Yeah,
All
speaking
right.
of other great piano players. All right.
I hope I'm able to join you, but
Yeah.
on Thursday morning, I get my second chemo treatment.
Yeah.
So I may not be able to join you, depending on the impact that the second go around
Yep.
affects me.
So then Wednesday night, record some thoughts.
Yeah.
Put some things down. It'll help you take your mind off of what's coming, because you know there's nothing better than jazz to wash the dust off a day or
Yep.
prepare you for the next.
Even while you're sitting there getting your treatment,
Yeah.
have the Bill Evans Trio take notes on it.
Okay.
Or text me your notes.
Yeah.
And
If you're
So-
if you're not able to make it, I'll fight a bobblehead of you. So until then, thanks for joining us.
Good
Cheers,
to
everyone.
know.